and Happy New Year. My name is Deanna Bessera, and I am the Patient Experience Lead at Leal Health. Today, I sit down with Tim Kavanagh, currently fighting stage 4 colorectal cancer, for an intimate fireside chat as we talk about the themes of patient empowerment, patient resources, and most importantly, having hope as we launch into a brand new year. Today, we have proudly partnered with the American Cancer Society, a leader in the fight against cancer and a like-minded patient-centric organization, which has provided a myriad of services to cancer patients throughout the country for over 110 years. Incredible, right?
Yeah.
Both Leal Health and the American Cancer Society believe in empowering patients with knowledge and options when it comes to cancer treatment. Our patients are truly at the heart of everything we do. And with that said, I'd like to introduce you to the remarkable Tim Kavanagh. He's the father of 5 and the grandfather of 2. He's married to his great love, Candy, who's also his biggest cheerleader and caregiver. He's a businessman. He's an entrepreneur. He's an entertainer, an actor, and actually he's also a stand-up comic. Tim has, as I mentioned, stage 4 colorectal cancer. He's been fighting it for the last 7 years, and he has faced a 5-time recurrence. And while Tim lives in Vermont, he is receiving treatment at Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York City. So today, Tim and I are here at the American Cancer Society's Hope Lodge in New York City, a place you're quite familiar with, and it's a home away from home for thousands of cancer patients and their caregivers like yourself and Candy. Before we share more about Hope Lodge and its mission, can you please walk us through your own cancer story? Tell us where you were personally and professionally when you were diagnosed, and a little bit about your treatments.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here today, for sharing my story. I think it's so important to be able to share that story with as many people because it gives hope a lot of times. And, you know, that's really the genesis behind my show, my comedy show, is to really kind of uplift people, but to also show them that there is hope. You know, this is a 7+ year battle that I'm on, which started, what I thought was going to be routine. I had just turned 50 years old, and so I was scheduled for my first colonoscopy, and right there on the table, I was diagnosed with stage 2 colorectal cancer. And so it just obviously rocked my world. Candy was brought into the room. She thought she was going to be picking me up, and I told her, and she said, "Oh, honey, no. You're fine. It's just the drugs that you're on right now." And I said, "No, the team's coming in to talk about it." And they did. Candy and I had only been together for 9 months when I was diagnosed. And I thought for sure that was it. I thought, she was going to be like, "Well, this was fun. I've got to go." And instead, she put both heels right into the ground. And she has been... She has been my rock ever since, and continues to be there day in and day out for me. And it's just amazing. Like, the things that she's had to do, what she's gone through, sometimes by herself because we're down here for treatment. And if something goes awry with treatment, then she's the first person notified. And there she is in a waiting room all by herself and everything. But we know we have great friends in American Cancer Society. We have wonderful friends here with Hope Lodge. And that's been not only a great resource, but a great sounding board for us.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. I feel every word you've just said. I know that from getting to know you, what I really took away from our conversations was your incredible and immense sense of humor. It seems to be one of your mightiest weapons in your fight. You inspire so many people around with your hilarious depictions of your experiences with an ostomy bag and what that entails, and the various procedures that you've had to endure. I remember at one point you said that when you were diagnosed, you had to check your dignity at the door.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so you give so many other patients hope as a result of your brutal honesty. So a few questions about that. How important do you think hope is in a cancer patient's journey, and how important has hope been in your toughest moments?
Well, I think hope is almost like the core of it all, right? Because you really have to believe that. But you, as the patient, have to really believe in that hope. You have to have that. You have to have that fight inside of you. I also think that a key word is believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that that Hope Lodge is practically next door to Macy's, and their big slogan is believe, you
That's
know,
right.
and I love seeing that every year when we're down here for treatment during the holidays, because hope and believe are two very important words in my vocabulary. And it's something that I try and express that to others, the others that are going through it. And, you know, you mentioned about how inspiring my work is. I'm just doing what I think is, I think I look at what I have as a gift. And a lot of times I tell people, I didn't get cancer, I was chosen. And I think that because I have such a strong message, I have such an immense will to live. And the fact that, like, I've now gone through over 30 surgeries, I've had systemic chemo, I'm in my 5th round of systemic chemo. I've had radiation 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
I have radiation seeds. You name it, I've had it. And I have a colostomy bag. Her name is Nellie, by the way, in case anybody wants to meet her later.
Can you tell us why her name is Nellie?
Her name is Nellie because sometimes she gets very vocal. And if she gets vocal, we all just say, "Whoa, Nellie!"
I remember that. I love that so much. That's awesome. Can you also, I loved one story you shared with me, and I think our patients would really love to hear it. It's the story about a woman named Jeannie who came to see one of your stand-up comedy routines, and she was someone who had really lost hope. And at the end of the show, she had a profound change of heart, and she credited you with giving her the gifts of perseverance and hope back, which is quite something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
can you share that a little
Of
about
course,
that?
you know, that it was such an honor to be able to receive that type of feedback from her. I was the keynote speaker for a cancer conference in Vermont, and Jeannie Jeannie was going through. She'd had 4 different types of cancer, and this current cancer was not having, the treatments were not having any effect whatsoever on her. So she was losing hope. She had pretty much lost hope at this point. And the one reason why she came into the show is because she was wheelchair bound. And her partner said, "Oh no, we're going to this show because you need this."
Oh, that's great.
So in they rolled. And I just remember looking at now there's 800 people in this audience, but I remember seeing Jeannie off to the side, and she just didn't look happy. You know, everyone else was like, "Oh, hey, this is going to be fun," you know, and everything. Jeannie did not have that look at all. But I did the show, and I go into a number of different areas. You know, because I have colorectal cancer, I call it my self-defecating look on life, because that's what happens a lot of times, especially in the earlier days before Nellie came along. There was a lot of accidents and stuff. And I share that openly because a lot of what happened to me has happened to so many people, and people are just afraid, and they don't really want to talk about it. And that's okay. But they realize once they hear it, they're like, "Oh my God, that happened to me, but I would never tell this in public, but thank God that you did." So after the show, I remember Jeannie and her partner came up, and they were just like gushing, like what this meant to them, and thanking us and talking to us about it. And then she told us her story to Candy and I about how, treatments hadn't been working for her. She's in her fourth different type of cancer that she's battling. And she knew that this was the turning point for her, that seeing this performance just made her do a 180 with her life. And what was so amazing is that, that number one, we became friends. We stayed in contact. And shortly after that, Jeannie's treatment started working for her. And I think it's one of those things where it's just like, it's about hope. Right. It's about believing, right? You have to dig within inside of yourself, and you have to know that you're going to get better.
I love that story so much, because I think the turning point in her is so incredible, and I think happens to a lot of cancer patients. I think the mind-body connection is really pure and really powerful. I applaud you so much for going through this journey with so much passion for others and humility. As a cancer patient myself,
I was going to say, we've been through this together.
We have been through this together, and I so relate to all of the procedures and the therapies and the needles and the scans. And there are so many mental challenges involved, aside from the physical ones. I'm sure that throughout the last 7 years, you have had some darker moments. And in those moments, for me, I sometimes thought that giving up was much easier than pushing through. So my question for you is, in your darker moments, besides humor, what has inspired you?
Well, that's a heavy question, right? Because there's so many layers to that. But what inspires me is my wife Candy, our children, our grandchildren. Very emotional.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay. It's perfectly normal, understandable.
But to me, like that is such an important driving force for me, because they are my world.
Right.
And I want to be here for all those moments.
Right.
Sorry.
No, you're such a human, and I love that you. I mean, we've cried together before.
Yes, we have.
I'm trying to keep it together right now. But I think that as much as you feel for them, they feel from you, and what you put out, you receive back in abundance. So that just goes towards your character.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Don't go blushing on me now. So I want to change the focus a little bit to patient empowerment. Okay. So you are no stranger to clinical trials. As a matter of fact, I believe your very first treatment was a clinical trial. Right. And in general, what is your opinion about clinical trials?
Obviously it was very new to us. We came out of the gate, basically racing, because of the diagnosis. And I believe that it was either the surgeon or the oncologist at the time said, we believe that, we know that the type that you have and the stage where you're at, we are part of a clinical trial right now called the OPERA clinical trial, that was spearheaded out of, actually, I think it was spearheaded out of Sloan Kettering. Yeah. And they were like the parent arm of it, I guess, and our local hospital was a part of it. So they explained what it was about. And I think what really caught Candy's and my attention was that we were assigned a nurse for it. And again, we're very new to this, and what we're about to enter into. But the fact that we were going to have this nurse that's assigned to us to answer questions and walk us through all these things, and certainly walk us through the clinical trial itself, was meant a lot to us. And the fact that we couldn't have had a sweeter nurse. And we're still in touch with her today. She has twins as well.
Wonderful.
I think that was a big part of what it was. And it's not that my treatment was altered or changed in any way. It's just that they were looking at the effects of whether you did radiation first or chemo first, and if that had any effect on outcomes whatsoever. And you didn't get to choose; the trial chose for you. So I'd chemo first, and then the radiation, which I've got a great story with the radiation. But I just thought that was very powerful. The fact that, oh my gosh, you're giving this nurse and they are there for everything. And when you go in for treatments, they're there, and you just had this extra level of attention and care. And you wish that it was that way for every patient, no matter what.
Yes, it's true. I think there's a misunderstanding about clinical trials, that you're basically left alone to your own devices and whatnot. But on the contrary, you're actually monitored by your care team much more closely.
Absolutely.
As you've depicted, and they are able to adjust your treatments in real time and pivot based on whatever side effects you're having and whatnot. You mentioned an important word, and that is choices. And I think as cancer patients, we really don't have a lot of choices in so many areas. And it's a perfect time for me to share a little bit about our company, Leal Health. Our mission at Leal is to basically provide all cancer patients access to every single one of their treatment options at every stage of their journey, to give them choices. Our technology is award-winning. I can say that because I didn't invent it. I'm not being boastful, but it is patented. It is award-winning, and it allows patients and doctors and caregivers to find every available standard of care option and clinical trial option that is precisely matched to that cancer's exact diagnosis. And to date, we have made more than 4.5 million
That's unbelievable.
matches for cancer patients. And it's done within minutes, as you've experienced, and completely free of charge. So with all of that, we are the fastest growing platform of its kind. We're acquiring about 4,000 patients a month. And but the most important thing for me, and why I joined this company, is every person who works at Leal Health has a personal reason for being there, from our PhDs to our MDs to our social workers, our nurses, even folks in marketing. We all have been touched by cancer in some way, and we are all there for a reason. And we believe that when passion fuels purpose, everything is possible. Now I'm getting a little choked up.
That's all right. I give you permission.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We should have brought tissues next time. With that said, our company is squarely at the intersection of what we call precision medicine and patient empowerment. Because not only do we give our patients the options and the choices we were just talking about, but we educate them on those options, and we provide them with information and tools so that they can have informed conversations with their doctors, with their oncologists, with themselves. Even. We believe that an informed and an educated patient is the best weapon we have against cancer. So with that in mind, I wanted to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
Do you feel that being an empowered cancer patient is important?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I feel, first of all, I applaud what Leal Health is doing.
Thank you.
And, when you folks first reached out to me and you were explaining to me, I couldn't quite wrap my head around it at first. And I knew that you talked about, there is an AI approach to what we're doing, because it is an instant, instant results.
Right.
Once you plug in all the information. I will say, in putting in the information, it's so vital to have that correct information, that empower yourself to talk to your medical team about getting those answers that you're asking on that form. Make sure that you're being very precise, because those answers are what's going to help develop what's available to you.
Right.
So I think that's first and foremost, I think that's so important. And again, empower yourself to speak to your team. It's not, some people think that, oh my gosh, that's cheating on my team, or like I can't, I'm this is my team. No, this is your life.
Oh,
this
so
is your
well said.
life.
Yes.
So
the stakes are high.
Yeah. The stakes are extremely high. And, the one thing that I say to a lot of people, is that they get diagnosed, and the first thing is you're scared. You're just scared. And that's just so natural that, like, oh my God, what does this mean? What are the percentages? Do I want to know percentages? And you feel like you're talking with your medical team, and now it's just like, okay, I'm going to put all my trust in them.
Right.
They might be the team for you, but go and get another opinion. Like, and the best example that I always share to people, I'm like, when you're replacing your roof, do you go with the one and only bid? Come on. Like, how many estimates do you bring in? How many estimates is your insurance company requiring you to bring in so that you can choose wisely for yourself? Your life is so important. It's the only one that you get.
I love that. And I actually have a very similar mindset when I talk to patients. I say, look, do you actually want to outsource everything in your life? When you're building a kitchen, yes, you hire the contractors, but you want to pick the knobs and the light fixtures.
That's an interior designer's work, and I can highly recommend Tim Kavanagh of Weston Design.
Good pitch. I love that. I love the plug. But yes, you want to have a say in what you're picking out. When you're choosing a babysitter for your children, you want to have a say who's going to watch them. Don't you want to have a say in your cancer treatment?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're along the same lines. I wonder, have you ever heard people say that they're afraid of clinical trials? Or have you heard of that idea?
I've heard of the idea. I haven't actually personally heard someone say it, but I think that there's this misnomer about clinical trials where it's just like, that's just another side thing. I don't need that. I just need to focus on my disease, on my treatment. Yes, you do. But if there's a clinical trial out there that has a proven track record, or it speaks to your specific disease, then it's worth you at least looking into.
Right. I think that clinical trials are basically giving you the treatments of tomorrow, today. And I think that what most people don't actually know or really process is that everything in your medicine cabinet, in my medicine cabinet, at the local pharmacy was once in a clinical trial. Everything from Advil to Benadryl to the flu shot to the COVID vaccine to digestive vitamins to even the birth control pill and also Viagra. Everything was everything was once in a clinical trial. And without clinical trials, we would not be able to advance cancer research like we have been. So now I would like to focus on our partners and hosts, the American Cancer Society's Hope Lodge. As I mentioned earlier, we are chatting from the American Cancer Society's Hope Lodge right here smack in the middle of New York City. Hope Lodge communities offer a home away from home for many, many people facing cancer, as well as their caregivers. They are truly the heartbeat of the American Cancer Society. And as such, I wanted to share a few important highlights about the Hope Lodge. There are 30 plus American Cancer Societies Hope Lodges across the country, with over 1,100 rooms available where people with cancer and their caregivers can stay for free when they need to travel for treatment outside of their hometown. Every year, Hope Lodge, nationwide, their program provides more than 500,000 nights of free lodging, which is a savings of $50 million in lodging costs every year. In the New York City Lodge, where we are right now, the average stay is 26 nights. imagine having to stay in New York City at a hotel for 26 nights. You're paying not just for the stay, you're paying for every meal. You're far away from your family. You're far away from your friends. You're spending hours in a cramped New York City hotel room while in treatment. I couldn't think of, a more sadder experience with cancer than that. And in some cases, people actually don't have the opportunity to get that transplant, that bone marrow transplant, or that clinical trial they need because they can't travel to it. They would have to travel back and forth. And as a matter of fact, when I went through my cancer treatment, I traveled daily back and forth into New York City. Now, luckily, I only live in New Jersey, but it was still a trek and it was still quite challenging.
And when you're sick, that's the last thing you want to do.
That's the last thing you want to do and worry about. And, it takes a lot out of you on top of everything else being taken out of you. So at Hope Lodge, patients and caregivers can grab a cup of coffee or they can have some tea together in the newly renovated kitchens. There's amazing laundry rooms. We just got a tour, and the laundry rooms are fantastic. Everything is free of charge. Patients can spend downtime with other guests watching a movie, joining a knitting class or a yoga class, and just simply relaxing. There truly is, I think, a sense of community where patients and caregivers get to support one another with one another and also with the compassionate staff here. So it truly feels like a place of healing and togetherness for me. So, Tim, can you please tell us how you found out about Hope Lodge, your experience that you've had with it, and Candy's experience with the facility as well as the staff? We'd love to hear.
Sure. I mean, the
all
facilities are great. I mean, we're at the facilities.
Right.
We're doing a fireside chat at Hope Lodge, New York City. And you talked about some of the amenities that are here. We'll call them amenities, but like they just added free laundry service. Well, something like that is just like it takes such a weight off of people. I mean, I was so excited about it that when we knew that we were coming down to Hope Lodge, I just brought my dirty laundry with me because I figured, hey, it's free laundry service now. So,
oh my gosh.
No. But there's so many different things here in the sense of community. I believe that how I found out about Hope Lodge. Now, we have a Hope Lodge where we live. We live in Burlington, Vermont. So there is a Hope Lodge there. But my cancer is complicated. It's, it's in its 7th+ year. And we started coming down here a number of years ago when things were starting to get complicated. One of the great things about Memorial Sloan Kettering, where I get treated, is they provide you with a social worker, and that social worker helps connect those different dots for you. So transportation, we use a service called Angel Flight, which provides free air transport for us back and forth down here. A huge savings. They also connected us with this place. We started coming to Hope Lodge in 2018. Wow. was our first time here. And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, like, I don't know how we would do this otherwise. We were lucky enough to be gifted through friends of friends one time when we had to be two times when we had to be down in the city for a very long period of time, where they gifted us their Lexington Avenue apartment. And that was fantastic. What you get here is you get a community. And while everyone is going through the same thing, which can sometimes be, I don't want to say a burden, but sometimes it's just difficult, because you don't want to talk and live cancer every single day, but you're in it. But what you end up doing is you meet people and you talk through different things. And then all of a sudden you're just talking about various things. And I just remember, John, he and I both loved aircrafts. So we went over to the Intrepid Museum with Candy and his wife, and we spent an afternoon, walking the decks of the carrier, and you just get to know these people. This staff here is unbelievable. We look forward to walking in the door. We're greeted open-armed. with them. I was honored to be a part of their big annual bash.
Okay.
It was a fundraising bash last May, and I got to speak at it and tell a little bit about my story and what Hope Lodge means to me. And it's invaluable. You can't put a price tag to something like this. They have never said no to us, and that's what is so unbelievable to me, because there's only 60 rooms here,
right,
and it is always full.
Right.
You know, they are always turning and turning and turning. We know our schedule enough in advance, and we just give them the dates, and they're like, they make it happen. They somehow make it happen. And we've done some trips where it's been very last minute. Something has come up. They need me down here, and we call up, and they're like, you know, we send it into the social worker, and then they reach out and they say, we look forward to seeing you. And they put the dates. So it's unreal. It
is unreal. We've been here for a few hours, and we've gotten, like I said, a tour, and we've seen some of the temporary residents and patients, if you will, and everyone just seems very comfortable here.
Very comfortable.
Very
and
comfortable.
There's so many different unique parts about here. You know, there's this great room that we're in, and they host dinners right here, and companies come in and host dinners. And this week we arrived on Monday, and there was a dinner, and the dinner was put on by one of the American Cancer Society's board of directors.
Wow.
That handle the I forget the actual name of it, but it's for breast cancer awareness, and it's their walkathon that takes place in Central Park every year. And then they provide dinner for all of us. I mean, you're already like not having to pay for accommodations. Now they want to say, come have a meal on us. Right. Don't worry about getting meals, even though they have these beautiful renovated kitchens that where you get to meet other patients too, right. Because every floor has a kitchen, so it's kind of a shared space. Thank God you have your own bathrooms. Right. But you have these kitchens, and you go into it, and you just start meeting people and talking to people.
Right. And I saw in the kitchens, it was really interesting. Every patient has their own cupboard.
Yep.
And their own shelf in the refrigerator. So it's a common area, but it's also very personalized.
I didn't know that at first. I thought it was a free-for-all.
You rated all the cubbies.
So I started rating, like, there was someone who had like boxes of ding dongs, and I am such a sucker for a ding dong.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Now I know what to send you for Christmas next year. No, it was really cool. There's also like you said, the laundry rooms on every floor.
The libraries.
Every floor even has like a little living room lounge where your caregivers can get away if they need to. The rooms are incredible. I mean, better than a lot of New York City hotels.
Bigger, much bigger.
Much bigger. Some rooms even have their own sitting areas.
Yep.
It's just an incredible resource. The American Cancer Society's Hope Lodge is an incredible resource. And speaking of resources, what I found out between the ACS and Leal is that we are very like-minded in that we are patient-centric. And like I said before, the patient is at the forefront and at every action and decision that we make. But what I've also seen is that some patients hesitate to take advantage of free services like Leal's free clinical trial finder or like staying at one of the ACS Hope Lodges. So why do you think that is in your experience? And what advice would you give to patients who are hesitant to take advantage of the free resources available to them in their journey, created to make their journeys easier for them?
You know, every case is different, right?
Yeah.
There's some people that are just like, oh, no, I want to save that for someone who really needs it. And it's just like, really, you don't really need a break right now. Like, you need a break. Like, let them pamper you, because that's what they do here. They pamper you. And they jokingly say, I hope we never see you again, and you
say, amen to that.
Yeah, right. You don't really want to see them again, but they've become your friends, and they're part of your lifeline.
Yes.
But I understand where some people are just like, oh no, save it for other people. Other people are just not, they just don't know about it. They don't know about these resources that are available. So I think probably one of the biggest thing is talk to your medical team, talk to social workers. If you're assigned a social worker, make sure you're reaching out to them. Ask questions about what's going to help you. This is your journey. Like you get to drive this ship. Yes, you have many people who are going to be helping you navigate through those tough waters, but it's your journey. So if there's a resource that's available, like a Hope Lodge or like an Angel Flight or a Leal Health, where you put in your information and almost instantly I think it was 17 clinical trials for me.
Right.
For me.
On average, every patient gets between 15 and 20.
I'm right in the middle. I'm average.
You're in the sweet spot.
So, I couldn't believe that. Like, and then you just start reading through them. And there's a lot of information. Like, if you want to take the deeper dive into them, I will, it can be overwhelming, but you have that opportunity. It's there for you. Just read it. And then it's okay. Like, your team is there. Your medical team is there. Ask them questions.
Right. You're not meant to do this alone. And when you get that list, the ideal scenario is that you do bring it to your oncologist or your care team, and you have an open, informed, and educated dialogue. Clinical trials were not brought up to me when I was sick 18 years ago, and I just got lucky.
But how about that? 18 years ago.
Woohoo.
Tomorrow.
Thank you for the shout out. But I got lucky. I was very lucky. The standard of care worked for me. But I'm also not amongst the majority. A lot of people need more treatment options than even they may know about. And that's why resources like the American Cancer Society, the Hope Lodge, and Leal Health, and so many others are available for patients in their time of need. And with this, we are at the end of our fireside chat. I know. I'm sorry.
The fire's out?
The fire's out. The candles are still on, but the fire is out. I'd like to sincerely thank you for inspiring all of us with your grit and your humor, your tenacity, and your drive to overcome. Your humility and humanity, as I said earlier, are always on full display. And your frankness and sincerity are truly moving and fill our hearts with so much hope. I'd like to take a moment to thank our partners at the American Cancer Society's Hope Lodge in New York City for hosting us today and for collaborating with us on such an impactful event for both of our patient communities. Again, thank you all out there for taking the time to join us today and learn more about how we are manifesting hope for this brand new year. And while we all work to find a cure for cancer, we also encourage you to lean on us at Leal Health and the American Cancer Society's Hope Lodge and all of our resources, which are always free to all of our patients. We will be sending a follow-up email to everyone with a recording of this event, and encourage anyone with questions to reach us at www.leal.health. And for those wishing to make a donation to the American Cancer Society Hope Lodge, you can do so at www.cancer.org/Hope Lodge. On behalf of all of us here at Leal Health, and Tim and Candy, and all of our friends at the American Cancer Society and the incredible Hope Lodge, we're wishing you good, sustaining health and a great rest of your day. Take care.